All right, so let's talk dinosaurs. I mean, everyone loves dinosaurs, right?
Yeah.
But when you really start to think about it, the sheer scale of these creatures, the fact that they ruled the planet for over 100 million years,
Hmm.
it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, just imagine animals taller than buildings, jaws that could crush bone, some of them sprinting around at like 90 kilometers an hour. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like something out of a movie.
Right.
But it was real. And then poof, gone. Vanished. Just like that. So in this deep dive, we're going to explore exactly what happened to the dinosaurs. How did they go extinct? We'll be looking at all the latest scientific discoveries and evidence.
Absolutely. And it's a story that starts with the word dinosaur itself, terrible lizard. That term was coined way back in 1841 by this British scientist, Richard Owen.
Right.
Is after the first fossil discoveries, and people were starting to really get fascinated by these creatures. But it's interesting, right? Because those early depictions of dinosaurs, they were so different from what we understand today.
Oh, I know what you mean. Like those old drawings of Megalosaurus just all hunched over and stuff. They look so different from the agile predators we know they were.
Exactly. And it just shows you how our understanding of dinosaurs has evolved over time. As we've found more fossils, as technology has advanced, we've been able to piece together a much more accurate picture of what these animals were like.
And speaking of fossils, did you know that over 10,000 dinosaur fossils have been discovered so far?
Wow, that's a lot of fossils.
It is. And they represent over 900 different species of dinosaurs. It's like a giant puzzle, with each fossil giving us another clue about these amazing creatures. And it's even more incredible. The pace of discovery is actually accelerating. Between 2003 and 2022, scientists were identifying an average of 45 new dinosaur species every year.
45 new species a year. That's incredible. Makes you wonder what else is out there just waiting to be discovered.
Right. Like, what if we find something that completely changes our understanding of dinosaurs?
It could happen. Every new discovery has the potential to rewrite the textbooks. But to really understand the dinosaurs, we need to go back to the very beginning, to their origins, about 230 to 240 million years ago, during the Triassic period.
Okay, so the Triassic period. Paint us a picture. What was the Earth like back then?
Well, first of all the continents were smashed together into one giant landmass. We call it Pangaea. Can you imagine that? One massive supercontinent. And the climate, yeah, it was pretty harsh. Really dry and arid. Not exactly a paradise.
So not exactly the lush, tropical jungles we often see in dinosaur movies.
Not quite. And the dinosaurs themselves, well, they weren't the giants we might imagine. They were actually quite small, like Eoraptor, for example. A small, agile dinosaur, only about 2 meters long. It's thought to be an ancestor of many later dinosaurs, but the really interesting thing is that dinosaurs weren't the only big reptiles around during the Triassic. There were also giant reptiles, some of them ancestors of turtles, that shared the planet with the early dinosaurs.
So dinosaurs were kind of just starting out, weren't they? Sharing the stage with all these other reptiles. But then things changed dramatically, right? Around 201 million years ago, there was this major event, the Triassic-Jurassic Extinction event. What happened?
Yeah, things got pretty rough. Basically, there was a period of significant climate change. It was probably triggered by the breakup of Pangaea. Now remember, this wasn't like a sudden split. It happened over millions of years. But as the continent started to drift apart, there were massive volcanic eruptions along the fault lines. These eruptions spewed out huge amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere.
And that spells trouble, right? I mean, carbon dioxide, that's a major greenhouse gas. And sulfur dioxide that can block sunlight and lead to global cooling. It sounds like a recipe for an environmental disaster.
It was. The climate changed drastically, the oceans became more acidic, and it led to a massive extinction event. Many species of plants and animals just couldn't adapt and they died out. But here's the interesting thing. Dinosaurs, they were warm-blooded, unlike most of the other reptiles at the time, which were cold-blooded. And this warm-bloodedness seems to have given them an advantage. They were better able to cope with these extreme temperature fluctuations. And so, they survived.
So this extinction event, it was actually a turning point for the dinosaurs. It wiped out a lot of the competition and allowed them to really thrive.
Exactly. It paved the way for the dinosaurs to become the dominant land animals on Earth. And that leads us into the Jurassic period, which lasted from 201 to 245 million years ago. This is when we start to see the evolution of some of the truly gigantic dinosaurs, like, Brachiosaurus or Apatosaurus, those long-necked giants.
Yes, the Jurassic period. Everyone knows that name, thanks to the movies. But it's interesting to note that T-Rex, the king of the dinosaurs, it didn't actually live during the Jurassic period. It evolved much later during the Cretaceous period.
That's right. The Jurassic was home to some amazing dinosaurs, but T-Rex wasn't one of them. And speaking of the Cretaceous period, that was when dinosaur diversity really exploded. It lasted from 145 to 65 million years ago.
So the Cretaceous, that's when we get all the famous names, right? T-Rex, Triceratops, Stegosaurus.
You got it. And it was also a time of significant environmental change. The continents continued to drift apart, and the climate was generally warmer than it is today. Flowering plants evolved, which created new food sources for herbivorous dinosaurs. It was a vibrant, dynamic world.
It sounds like a dinosaur paradise.
All right.
And some of the dinosaurs that lived during this time were just enormous, like Argentinosaurus, this massive, long-necked herbivore that could weigh up to 77 tons.
77 tons. Can you imagine that? That's like 15 African elephants put together. And then, of course, you had the predators, like T-Rex, a fearsome hunter with teeth up to 12 inches long.
And it wasn't just land-based dinosaurs. There were also flying reptiles, like pterosaurs, some with wingspans as wide as a small airplane. It's mind-boggling to think about these creatures soaring through the skies. But sadly, this incredible reign of the dinosaurs came to an end, didn't it? About 66 million years ago, an asteroid, a giant rock from space, slammed into the Earth.
It's true. The asteroid impact is probably the most famous extinction event in Earth's history, and it was devastating. This asteroid, it was about 10 to 15 kilometers wide, and it was traveling at a speed of about 30 kilometers per second.
30 kilometers per second, that's unbelievably fast, like faster than a bullet.
Way faster. It slammed into the Earth with incredible force. The impact site is in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and it created a crater, the Chicxulub crater, which is over 180 kilometers in diameter.
So what happened when this asteroid hit? What were the immediate effects?
Well, first of all, anything near the impact site would have been instantly vaporized. Gone. Then there were these massive shock waves that radiated outwards, causing earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Giant tsunamis, some of them possibly over a kilometer high, swept across coastlines. And then there were the wildfires. The heat from the impact ignited forests all over the planet.
It sounds like a scene from an apocalyptic movie.
It was an apocalypse for the dinosaurs, but the initial impact was just the beginning. The real killer was the long-term environmental damage. The impact threw up so much dust and debris into the atmosphere that it blocked out the sun. This caused a global nuclear winter. Temperatures plummeted, and the planet was plunged into darkness.
A nuclear winter. That means no sunlight for how long?
For years, possibly decades. Imagine that. Years without sunlight, plants couldn't photosynthesize, they died off. And then the herbivores, the dinosaurs that ate plants, they starved to death. And then the carnivores, the meat eaters, they lost their food source too. It was a chain reaction that led to a mass extinction.
So this one event, this asteroid impact, it wiped out the dinosaurs and a huge percentage of life on Earth.
Yeah, it was the fifth mass extinction in Earth's history. Over 75% of all plant and animal species went extinct, including, of course, the non-avian dinosaurs. That means all the big land-based dinosaurs, those that didn't evolve into birds. Any creature over about 25 kilograms didn't stand a chance.
But even in the face of this incredible devastation, some creatures did survive.
Right. Small, adaptable creatures, like early mammals, lizards, turtles, some birds, they managed to pull through. They were able to scavenge for food, to find shelter. And in the aftermath of the extinction, they began to diversify, to evolve, to fill the ecological niches left vacant by the dinosaurs. And eventually this led to the rise of mammals, and ultimately to us.
And it's fascinating, isn't it, that birds are actually the descendants of dinosaurs. Like chickens and ostriches, they're related to T-Rex. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
I know, right? It's a reminder that evolution is a continuous process. Life finds a way even after the most devastating events. But the evidence for the asteroid impact, it's pretty undeniable. There's a layer of iridium, this rare element found in asteroids that's present in rocks all around the world dating back 66 million years. That's a global fingerprint of the impact.
And then there's the Chicxulub crater itself, this massive scar on the Earth's surface. It's still there, partly underwater in the Yucatan Peninsula. A stark reminder of this cataclysmic event.
Yeah, it's sobering thought. It makes you wonder, are we at risk from another asteroid impact?
Well, that's a good question. And the answer is yes, there is a risk. But the good news is that we're getting better at tracking asteroids. NASA and other space agencies are constantly monitoring the skies, looking for potential threats, and we're even developing technology to deflect asteroids, to nudge them off course if we need to.
That's right, like the DART mission, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test. In 2022, NASA successfully crashed a spacecraft into an asteroid and changed its trajectory. It was a test, but it proved that we have the potential to protect ourselves from asteroid impacts.
That's amazing, but it seems like the biggest threat to life on Earth right now isn't coming from space, but from ourselves. I mean, we're talking about climate change, habitat loss, pollution. All these factors are driving what scientists are calling the sixth mass extinction.
It's true. The rate of extinction is currently estimated to be 100 to 1,000 times higher than the natural background rate. Thousands of species are disappearing every year, and we're the cause.
It's a sobering thought. But there is hope, right? There are people working hard to conserve species, to protect habitats, to reduce pollution.
Absolutely. There are a lot of dedicated people and organizations working to address these issues, and there's been progress, but we need to do more. We need to act now.
Because if we don't, we could end up going the way of the dinosaurs.
It's a real possibility, and it makes you think, doesn't it? Dinosaurs ruled the Earth for over 170 million years. Humans have only been around for a tiny fraction of that time, about 300,000 years. And yet, we're already having a massive impact on the planet. It makes you wonder, what will our legacy be? Will we be remembered as the species that destroyed life on Earth, or as the species that saved it? The choice is ours.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Our legacy is still being written, and it's up to each and every one of us to make sure it's a positive one.
I agree. We need to remember the lessons of the past and work together to create a better future.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.